Shalawam, and welcome back to The Hidden Chosen. I am Hadassah Saiwan, and welcome back to End Times Prophecy Watch. And now we're moving on to part 8. We're going to look at the last beast empire that will ever reign on the earth. This is Beast Empire number 8. So let's get started. We have looked previously at the first beast empire, which will be the Beast Empire number 7. That's the New World Order. Then we looked at the second beast, which will be the anti-Messiah, who is also called the false prophet, one and the same. Okay? To understand the final beast empire, which is number 8, let us identify who the previous empires were in order to understand the current quote-unquote empire, because we have an entity on the earth that is ringing in on the earth, and yet it is not seen as an empire. Okay? And the next coming 2 empires that are due to reign upon the entire earth. Daniel had several visions, all with the same interpretations, confirming that these visions describe the first 4 empires, helping us to understand not only the past empires, but the current and future empires as well. But we are not going to look at every dream or vision that Daniel had, because we've done that in previous studies. We're going to look at one. All right. The first time we encountered these past empires was in a dream by Nebuchadnezzar. He was the king of Babylon, which was interpreted by Daniel. So what happened? Allah gave him, the king of Babylon, a dream, and the dream was so terrifying. When he got up, he couldn't remember the dream because Allah took it away. But he left him with the feeling of dread, right? So he went to his magicians to ask them to tell him the dream and the interpretation. And they said, okay, how is it possible for us to tell you your dream? Tell us the dream and we'll tell you the interpretation of the dream. And he said, no. You tell me the dream and then I want also the interpretation. And the only person that was able to do this was Daniel, because he prayed to the Most High, and the Most High revealed the dream to Daniel and its interpretation. So this interpretation, which we have looked at in previous studies, also go with the visions that Daniel had about these same empires. So please note, there were 4 main empires, all right, that Daniel dreamt about. Nebuchadnezzar, he saw a little more than what Daniel saw. And that's why we're going to take a look at this interpretation that Daniel gave him of his dream. Daniel chapter 2, verse 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. You, O king, are the King of kings, for Allah has given you a kingdom, power, and strength of men dwell. The beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven has he given into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. So this is the most important thing that we need to understand, that whoever is ruling on this earth, whether it's a president, prime minister, king, or whatever, emperor, Allah has given them the authority to rule. Okay? He gave them the power to rule, the authority to rule, and he can also take them down. When it is time, he takes them down. Just like Nebuchadnezzar was taken down by the Medes and Persians. And the Medes and Persians were taken down by the Greek Empire. When Allah say enough of you, they're taken down, and the next one is raised up, and he let, because it is their time to rule upon the earth. All right, so you are this head of gold. So what Nebuchadnezzar saw in his dream was an image, a statue. It had a head of gold. chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron, feet and toes of iron and clay. All right? So he is represented by this head of gold. Verse 39. And after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So if you notice, it starts with gold and silver, brass, iron, and then iron mixed with clay. So each kingdom that came became less inferior to the one before it. We haven't gotten to the feet and toes of iron and clay as yet. That's coming up. Let's look at verse 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things. And as iron that breaks all these shall it break in pieces and bruise, it shall cause to shatter. Because that's how terrible this fourth empire was. Verse 41. And whereas you saw the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as you saw the iron mixed with clay. And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And there are some theories about this. Some people think it's transhumanism, man mixed with machine, there hence the iron and the clay. But if you really look at the word in here, it says here, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. Who are the they? All right. That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. Whatever represents the iron will mingle themselves with the seed of men. Now you can go all the way back to the days of Emperor Constantine, when he took over our people and caused them to worship his pagan worship, which we know as the Roman Catholic Church. All right? We can look at it from that point of view, from a spiritual point of view, where the seed of men are the ones who were worshiping Allah Hayam, Yahweh, and he caused them, because of all the great persecution, they were tired of being persecuted, and they submitted themselves to him to avoid being tormented and put to death, and they came under his rule. So you have the seed of men, the clay, represented by the people of Allah Hayam, with paganism. All right? And we know who is behind paganism. We know that the Satans are behind these empires and the fallen angels. Okay? And as we go on, we're going to see how this mixture, clay and iron, or iron mixed with clay, will cause the kingdom, these two kingdoms, because there are two, to become weak. And that's why it says here that the kingdom will be partly strong and partly broken, meaning weak. Allah Hayam made it this way. Now we can look at how everything is developing today and see that there are certain things that we depend on that makes our situation weak. Because when we are dependent on a thing and we're not dependent on the Most High, then it makes us in that situation weak, even though the thing that you are dependent on is strong. We're going to understand this as we go on. Let's go on. When Danayal saw, what Danayal saw were four main empires, but notice that he did not give a numbering position to the feet and the toes, as these two were other beastly entities which are to rise up and rule on the earth, the same world, with the same, having the same world dominating qualities of the first four empires. To understand this final empire, beast empire number 8, we have to look closely at the vision that Danayal had and Nebuchadnezzar, as they will give us clues about this last evil beast. So let's look at Danayal chapter 7, verse 7. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful, terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. You see that iron is popping up again. It devoured and broke in pieces and stomped the residue with the feet of it. Who are the residue? The remnant. Who are the remnant? The people of Alahayam. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So now it's being connected to the beast that Yochanan saw in Revelation chapter 12 and chapter 13. The 10 horns. Verse 17. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. Now, although he said kings, he's not talking about rulers, he's talking about kingdoms. All right? Danayal saw the fourth empire. Let me read that again. Danayal saw that the fourth empire would be terrible upon the earth, and this was the Roman Empire. And it was a terrible empire that stomped our people. We go back to Antiochus, to Titus. Titus was the last. That was in 70 AD. All right? Terrible empire. However, when we look at the dream which Nebuchadnezzar had, we see more going on with this fourth kingdom, as it diversified itself by becoming both a religious entity and a political entity, and that's why it was divided. Now, the Babylonian Empire, when it was conquered, it did not vanish away. It was absorbed into the next empire, which was the Medes and Persian Empire. The Medes and Persian Empire, when it was conquered by the Greek Empire, did not vanish away. It was absorbed into the Greek Empire. The Greek Empire, when it was conquered by the Roman Empire, it too was absorbed by the Roman Empire. And how do we know this? Look at the gods that they worship. They worship the same gods called by their own names. What these devils were hoping to do is to build a perfect beast. And we saw an example of it in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, the beast that came out of the sea, that had the body of a leopard, feet of a bear, and mouth of a lion, are the same three descriptions given by Danayal about the Medes and Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and the Babylonian Empire, the Medes and Persian Empire, and the Greek Empire. All right, but what Yochanan saw was the combination of all three of these empires rolled into one beast, which was the fourth beast, which will come back. It never went away. It diversified itself, and it divided itself to become a political entity and a religious entity, hence the Roman Catholic Church, and hence the political side. You're going to see what that will become, or what that had become. All right? The Roman Empire did not die, but it divided itself into these two factions to maintain control on the earth without its former self being evident. So these devils were trying to be smart. Okay, we our cover is kind of blown. We don't want to be seen as a world dominating empire, but we still want to control. Let's look at the first empire, conquered by the Medes and Persian Empire. That's the chest and arms of silver. And then you have the Medes and Persian Empire was conquered by the Greek Empire, which is represented by the belly and thighs of brass. And then the Roman Empire conquered the Greek Empire, and we see that the Roman Empire had legs of iron. How many legs did it have? Two. Two legs of iron. A division. Okay? Although you can say the same thing about the the Greek Empire, because it had the belly and thighs, but it's all connected. The thighs are connected to the hips, which makes it one entity. And the same thing with the chest and arms of silver. The chest with the shoulders and the arms all one. Whereas the legs now, they're separate. This empire was also described to have feet and toes.